There is no star there. However, in the last 20 years, we've discovered, deep space astronomy, that there is a star right in the center. And that's in the coils of Draco, in the very still point in the center of Draco. And it's a very long way away. And the science fiction inspired scientist who came up with it as a joke, sort of, I'm at my most serious when I'm joking, the angel says, named it Arrakis, or Dune. Funny people. So these, where the 6 are, those are the bright stars that are attributed to the cherubic beings. They're Regulus, Vega, etc. Those are the bright stars that are right on the ecliptic, right on the equator of the zodiac. And then there are stars in each of these other locations. Okay? And if you simply want to find Earth, then you find where all those stars come together. So Earth's zip code, in a galactic sense, is this projected tree of life. In other words, if you're traveling intergalactic spaces, and you're not flying in a tin can at sub-relativistic speeds, but you're actually teleporting, traveling fast, traveling in consciousness, then you better know where you're going because it's hard to stop. Right? So in your little personal teleportation spaceship, you plug in your zip code and hit the go button, and boom, you're 1 light year off of the sun. Now, Dan is showing also the animation of how the solids, three-dimensional solids, create the tree of life.
Before they had 3D software, unfortunately, they had tree of life.
Yes. And you had to do what you're seeing here in your head. Yes, you had to be able to visualize it. Okay? But you'll notice that the top part of the tree, which corresponds roughly to the northern hemisphere, is a dodeca. So the reason why our planet is so hemispheric, north, south, east, west, one has more water, one has more land, etc., it's because of this kind of growth quality. Okay? And it's a very special little cocoon we live on in a very special little place. And because we have all of these subtle geometries that we now read as ley lines, and because once upon a time we were smart enough to intuitively understand all this, and perhaps once upon a time, if you wouldn't stood in the right spot, you had access to the control panel of Spaceship Earth, and you could just simply pop over to the next star system. Okay? You can make one of these with current astronomy software for any planet in our local, say, 70 light-year little group. I have a program called Redshift that will show you the stars from any of the local star systems, and you can therefore determine the zip code for any of those stars in our little local star system. No, that's fine. So, to sort of wrap it up, angels are not cute little funny things that the New Agers go, oh, isn't that sweet? Can we flip to the eye in the tornado? Yeah. They actually look like this. This is a self-sustaining plasma storm the size of a nebula reaching one little tendril down to talk to us. If all the fuzzy, warm people who go, oh, I want my own little angel, could actually see an angel, they would run screaming from the space. Okay? Angels are huge, self-organizing plasma creatures that are enormous. They're the size of nebula. And they're eternal. If you get your plasma organized into this kind of tornado, you never die. So the whole goal of what the Ophanum and the angelic beings were doing is they were giving us a language, first of all, to communicate with them so that they could teach us how to steer the tornado. Okay, click to the explosion. Yeah, this one. Now, 2012, whether or not we're actually on the trough or the front of the superwave, it's going to be something like this. An enormous amount of energy and plasma coming out of the center of the galaxy, and it's not going to have a good effect on us unless we've actually been able to learn to talk to these large, organized, angelic beings who will then give us instructions about how we take care of or transmute these frail little meat sacks we live in into something that can actually survive the tornado. Now, with that in mind, Dan and I are proposing a Calling All Angels project between now and 2012. At the moment, there are less than a dozen people on the planet who have any understanding at all of the Enochian magic of Dr. D. And I really wouldn't trust but about half of those dozen. That's sad. We waited 400 years to get the math to understand it. Now we understand it. We can chart it in detail. I can talk for another 3 days about the details of angel technology. But if no one does the work, if nobody plugs in the internet, if nobody turns on the radio and tunes in, it's all been worthless. We're going to fry. We're going to become dinosaurs, and we're all marching off to the La Brea tar pit. But if we can create a situation in which a sufficient critical mass of people have an understanding of this language and an understanding of what it means and the ability to communicate directly with those angelic tornadoes with eyes in them, then maybe we have a chance. And it seems to me that since Dee himself was pretty well obsessed with the coming apocalypse, and they knew pretty well exactly it was coming now. They could date it. Any good astrologer, astronomer in the 16th century who knew what to look for could dial it in within about 20 to 36 years. So they knew it was coming. They knew when it was coming. And the angels were literally giving us instructions so that right before it hits, we'll have enough science, enough information to plug it in and get instructions on how to build a lifeboat. In other words, once you get your coconut radio going, the next instructions is, okay, how do we build a boat and get off this island? Okay? So that's what the angels are trying to tell us. It's not enough to turn lead into gold. That's fun. That demonstrates the principle. We have to turn time, the time, into gold. And that was the goal of the Rosicrucians. That's the goal of everybody for the last 420 years. Let's change the time from the age of iron and the Kali Yuga to the age of gold. And what that literally means is that we have to become just as self-similar, as fractal, the same turning inside out as gold itself. And we have to do it as a community, as a planet. We're screwed if 6 people who are somewhat crazy are the only ones who know how to do this. It's got to be a lot of people, enough to recreate the human race and enough to evolve. The shift we're going through is the exact same shift that happened 26,000 years ago when Cro-Magnon evolved from the Neanderthal. And in a few generations, your kids will look back on us and go, oh, those Neanderthals. Oh, those cavemen. I can't believe all those little electronic toys they played with. Didn't they understand you could just do it with your mind? Okay? So before we all get stuck in the La Brea tar pit, we have to do our bit to evolve the next level. Oh, a bee. Excellent. Bees understand higher dimensional geometry directly. Exactly. So that's the lesson. It's in nature. Only nature overcomes nature. There is nothing that's supernatural. There's just nature we haven't experienced yet. So the goal of all this is over the next 18 months or so, we'd like to have a lot of people learn the basic language and learn the basic geometry so that when the time is right, we can actually talk to the angels and learn how to build a lifeboat.